Am I the asshole for refusing to let my husband's adult daughter move in with us after she was kicked out by her mom? Hi, Reddit. Long-time lurker, first-time poster. I never thought I'd be here, but the situation in my house has gone nuclear, and I genuinely don't know if I've handled this the wrong way. I, 41F, have been married to my husband, 45M, for 6 years. He has a daughter, Kayla, 19F, from his previous marriage. I don't have biological kids, but I have a niece I helped raise, so I'm not clueless about young adults. For background, Kayla's relationship with me has always been distant. Not hostile, but she's never really accepted me in any kind of parental or even friendly role, which is fine. I never tried to be her mom and respected that boundary. I was just the adult her dad married, and I treated her with kindness, respect, and a little healthy distance when needed. Kayla lived with her mom full-time until recently. We had her over for some weekends and holidays when she was younger, but she never stayed longer than a few days. Even then, she was standoffish. She'd spend most of the time in her room, barely interact with me, and would only warm up a little if her dad was directly present. Now that she's 19, she's legally an adult and had been living at her mom's while attending community college. That all changed 2 months ago when, according to Kayla, she and her mom had a huge falling out. Kayla called my husband in tears one night, saying she had nowhere to go and needed to move in with us. He told her yes immediately. I wasn't consulted. I came home from work and was told, not asked, that Kayla was moving in just for a little while. She arrived the next day with 2 suitcases, visibly angry at the world and completely silent toward me. So here's where things started spiraling. Kayla has now been living with us for 8 weeks. In that time, she has never acknowledged me with more than a mumbled, "Hey," refused to eat dinner at the table with us. She takes food to her room, ignored all house rules, like cleaning up after herself, taking out trash, not playing music loudly at 2 a.m., used my personal items, shampoo, skincare products, food I explicitly bought for myself, without asking. Left passive-aggressive notes around the house like, some people should mind their business, after I asked her to turn her music down. I talked to my husband, multiple times. His response was always the same. She's just going through a tough time. She's never lived away from her mom before. You're being too harsh. So I backed off. I tried giving her space. I stopped asking her to do anything. I stopped trying to make conversation. And the situation didn't improve. In fact, it got worse. 3 weeks ago, I came home to find a stranger in our kitchen. A friend of hers. No heads up, no introduction, just a random 20-something guy sitting on the counter eating chips. I told Kayla she needed to ask before bringing people over. Her response? This isn't just your house. When I told my husband about that, he shrugged and said, she's technically right. It's mine too. That night, we had a huge argument. I told him he was letting her walk all over both of us, and that if she kept acting like this, she needed to find other arrangements. He said, if you make me choose between my daughter and you, you're not going to like the answer. So I stopped pushing. The breaking point. 2 weeks ago, I had a long day at work and came home to find Kayla in my bathroom. I have a master suite, and my bathroom has nicer amenities, more storage, and it's my little sanctuary. Kayla has a perfectly good bathroom off the guest room, fully stocked, clean, hers. When I asked her what she was doing, she said, I needed better lighting to do my makeup. Chill. That night, I told my husband that I'd reached my limit. I didn't feel like a guest in my own home. I felt like an intruder in a space I paid for, cleaned and respected. I told him we needed a real plan for her living situation. A lease? A move-out date? Something? He said I was being unreasonable and that she'd move out when she was ready. I calmly told him that if she wasn't out in a month, I would be. Now things are an absolute circus. My husband told his parents, and now they're calling me cold and selfish. His sister texted me a long, dramatic message about how young women need their stepmothers to love them unconditionally. She, by the way, has no kids and has never even met Kayla. My own sister thinks I'm being reasonable, but she also warned me that giving my husband an ultimatum might backfire. She's not wrong. The house is cold now, emotionally speaking. My husband barely talks to me unless it's about groceries or chores. Kayla walks past me like I'm furniture. Every time I try to bring it up again, he just says, she's getting better, or don't give up on her. But I'm not giving up. I just don't want to be treated like an unpaid, unappreciated roommate in my own home. Update 1. So I sat my husband down again. I told him calmly and seriously that I need to feel respected in our home. That includes being consulted about new long-term residents, being listened to when boundaries are being trampled, and not being vilified for asking for basic respect. I laid it out like this. I am not asking you to kick your daughter out with nowhere to go. I am asking that she either follows the basic rules of our household, communicate, clean, respect shared spaces, or we have to explore other options, extended family, friends, or even short-term housing programs. He was quiet for a long time and then said, "You just don't like her." That hit me hard, because it's not true. I want to like her. I want her to feel safe and supported. But I don't want to be a doormat to someone who treats me like a burden in my own home. I asked him directly, "If she decides to live here for the next 3 years, are you okay with that?" He didn't answer. That silence told me everything I needed to know. Update 2. This might not be the update people were expecting, but I started quietly looking for short-term rentals, not as a permanent move, but as a trial separation. I needed space, and more importantly, I needed to feel like I had autonomy again. My lease on a small furnished apartment was signed last Friday. I told my husband that I'd be moving out for a month, and no, it wasn't to punish him or Kayla. It was to get some clarity. He didn't fight it. He just nodded and said, "If that's what you need." That night, Kayla came into the living room for the first time in a week and said, "I didn't mean to ruin everything." I didn't know what to say. I just said, "This isn't all on you, but I do need a break." I moved out on Monday. It was strange and sad. I love my home. I built that space. But for the first time in 2 months, I feel like I can breathe. Final update. So here we are. I stayed in the apartment for 4 weeks. In that time, my husband came over twice. The first time we had coffee and talked logistics. The second time, he cried. He admitted he'd handled things badly, that he was so scared of alienating his daughter, he'd abandoned fairness, respect, and basic communication. That he was grateful I didn't force him to choose, because he now realizes it was never about choosing. It was about balancing. Kayla apparently had started going to therapy, something her college offers for free, and in her second session told the therapist she'd been testing me, trying to see if I'd abandon her like she felt her mom did. That hit me hard. I was angry, but also heartbroken. When I returned home last week, things were different. My husband had sat down with Kayla and created a list of house rules, mutual agreements, not commands. Things like no unannounced guests, shared chores are split weekly, no entering other people's rooms without permission. Dinner is optional, but communicate if you'll be out. There was a sticky note on the fridge from Kayla. It said, "I want to try again, if you're still open to it." We had a long, honest conversation that night. She apologized, genuinely. I apologized for being distant when she first moved in, not because I did something wrong, but because I now realize she interpreted that distance as rejection. We're not suddenly best friends, but we've had 2 meals together since. She helped me unload groceries. She even asked if I wanted to go with her to buy a small bookshelf for her room. It's small progress, but it's real.